I have scoured the interwebs, the internet, whatever you call it. Almost basically no mainstream media have reported on this at all. In fact, none of them have. I can't find a single mainstream media organization in the world that has reported on this. But imagine if the inverse were true. Imagine if electric car sales just fell by 40% in the UK. Everyone. This would be front page news everywhere. This would be all over the media. All the Australian media would even be talking about it. But if EV sales go up by 40%, well, no one is talking about it at all. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Honestly, I have no respect for anyone who works in the mainstream media. Well, not anyone, but most people, because come on. Are you really so controlled by your overlords that you cannot report on anything positive in the EV space? You just have to report negative stuff? That's what it looks like to me anyway. New data from New Automotive, a UK NGO, shows that electric vehicles, EVs, are more popular than ever in the UK. The second and third best-selling cars so far this year in the UK are electric cars. Now, more than 1 in 4 new cars sold in February were fully electric. EV registrations soared by a staggering 37.4%. compared to February of 2024, reaching nearly 26% market share, up from 17.97% last year. So market share has drastically increased. Basically 26% market share. That's a phenomenal number. Guys in the UK, I'd like to personally congratulate you. These numbers are unreal. Fantastic numbers. The rapid growth is being partly driven by major investments from car manufacturers, with Volkswagen, Peugeot, Mini, and Renault all recording triple-digit percentage increases in EV sales compared to February 2024. The number of electric Minis registered skyrocketed from just 82 last February, no one was buying them, to a staggering 1,300 this year, thanks to big improvements in range and affordability. My personal opinion is the Mini is still a joke of a car. Don't get me wrong, it's better than other cars on the road, but I can't believe people are buying it. I think it's way too expensive for what you get. But here's the thing, I guess. Guys in the UK, if you had our cars here in Australia, or if you had the Chinese market cars in the UK at the prices we do, the prices that they do, well, your market would be quite different. But the cars are actually quite expensive in the UK. Sales of petrol and diesel cars continue to fall quickly, with petrol registrations falling by 34.5% year on year. Diesel is down 13% because diesel was well and truly already dying anyway. Hybrid vehicles are gaining traction, now accounting for 31.4% of the market, up from 26% last year. So as you can see, EV sales are growing much quicker than hybrid sales, but hybrid sales are still up. So what that means is, if you put EVs and hybrids together, that's nearly 60% market share. That's pretty great. Very exclusive event here in Newcastle. Saturday, the 15th of March from 3 to 5 p.m. I'll be speaking here with just a couple of other speakers. Very small event. So you can meet me in person. You can actually have a look at my EV as well, the Xpeng G6. Test that out. I'll put a link in the description below to the event. I believe that the tickets will probably sell out very, very quickly. So if you're from Sydney, from Brisbane, from Newcastle, make sure you click on that link as quickly as possible to get in. I think there's only around 30 tickets left at this point in time. I'll put that link in the description and I'll see you there. Under the UK's zero emissions mandate, car makers are required to meet a 28% EV sales target this year. However, New Automotive's analysis suggests the compliance can be achieved with closer to 23% EV sales, thanks to policy flexibilities that allow manufacturers to partially offset targets with cleaner hybrid and petrol models. So actually, on average, the UK car industry is above the requirement of 23%. Pretty much every major manufacturer that's not an EV brand was complaining about these requirements of hitting 23% in the UK. And they were basically trying to brainwash the UK public into saying that it was going to kill their car automotive industry. It was going to make cars so expensive for them. It was going to ruin their choices and all this stuff. It's just all the kind of crap that these automakers are basically talking about here in Australia, trying to weaken emissions rules and trying to basically cause stupid people to believe stupid things, essentially. The policy has successfully encouraged strong investment in EVs, with manufacturers expanding their electric lineups and making zero-emission vehicles more accessible to UK buyers. I mean, for example, it's brought in other brands as well. You can now buy Xpeng's G6. You can now buy BYD cars in in the UK. However, any sudden changes to the mandate could put this progress at risk. So hopefully these mandates stay in place because they're working. With February's record-breaking sales, the UK's EV market is on track for another strong year, reinforcing the country's position as a leader in the transition to cleaner transport. Now, if you're wondering which EVs are doing well, we don't have the full numbers yet. I'll report on those by the end of this month when I have more data. We do know, though, that the Tesla Model Y and the Model 3 were the second and third best-selling cars in the UK, period. Not just EVs, but in terms of all cars. The best-selling car was the Mini. A lot of those were EV, electric Minis. But the second and third best-selling cars in the UK were Teslas. So as you can see, in the UK, people are not too worried about US politics or everything that's going on in the United States. They're just buying what they think is the best model of car. Bit of a shock to me, though, because obviously that means they're buying the old Model Y when a new one is only weeks away. Anyhow, what I see playing out here is this. I think by the end of this year, that 26% could increase to 30%, possibly even more. But that will mean that electric car sales will have almost doubled in terms of percentage numbers versus last year. If they almost double this year to say 30%, which is very, very likely, going from 26% to 30% by the end of the year, very likely considering there's going to be more models on the market, more choice. I think more people saying, hey, I bought an EV, it's actually really good. And they're saying that to their friends, and their friends are like, okay, I'll try one as well. I think that's going to have a big effect. Remember, when we go past that tipping point, the tipping point is normally 5 to 10%, depending on the industry, but they're well past that tipping point of 10%. Generally on the S-curve of adoption rates, adoption skyrockets. So when we're hitting that 30%, another doubling, could be only 2 years away, which would mean the market might go to 60% within about 2 years' time. 60%, what happens then? Not long before you're getting to Norway levels. What happens then is, well, we know what happens then. It's endgame for the Western automotive industry, whether that's Germany, whether that's the United States car market, they're all in big trouble. China is taking it. China is around 70% of all EVs sold in the world are made in China. Thanks for watching. Electric car sales in China have just risen by a staggering 82%, which is a new record, obviously. Volkswagen Group, their EV sales have fallen at the same exact time by more than 50%.